Velina mai kako. Welcome to Keep It Aloha, a podcast that keeps it aloha by loving each other no matter what your political views are. I'm your host Kamaka, and if you no vote, no grumble. Wait, does that mean if you did vote, you can grumble? Because I see a lot of grumbling on social media. Anyway, we got a great guest today, but before we introduce him, I gotta remind you to check out our website at keepitaloha.com and check out our Patreon at patreon.com/kamakadias to get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to this podcast. We're an independent podcast, and all funds go to helping us run this and bring you the best quality content every single week. If supporting this podcast with money is not for you, but you still love listening to us, please consider leaving a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It helps so much with the algorithm and helps us get more sponsors because we need the views. Anyways, we have an amazing guest today, Brickwood Galuteria, and this guy is an OG in the game. I didn't know too much about him, but I keep hearing his name pop up over this last year, and after talking with him, he's pretty impressive. So I think you guys are going to really enjoy this episode. Our parents and grandparents probably know who this is, but if you're around my age or younger, just enjoy the episode because he has some amazing stories. All right, let's go introduce our guest. Support for this podcast comes from Texaco in Hawaii, which features 58 convenient locations across the state. Fueling up at Texaco is fast and easy when you use the Texaco mobile app to pay at the pump. The Texaco mobile app is a contactless way to pay for fuel so you can get in and out of the gas station quickly. Fuel your car and fuel yourself. Pick up your favorite local snacks and ice cold drinks at your neighborhood Texaco today. Texaco at Techron, driving performance. Our guest today is a former radio personality and current politician from the island of Oahu. This longtime radio host, musician, and actor has been in the spotlight for many decades. He previously served as a state chairman of the Democratic Party of Hawai'i from 2004 to 2006, and in 2022 was elected to the Office of Hawaiian Affairs Board of Trustees as an at-large member, where he currently serves today. He has performed music with Marlene Sai at the Royal Hawaiian Hotel for 3 years and later formed a group on his own, winning a coveted Nā Hōkū Hanohano award in 1985 for Male Vocalist of the Year and Most Promising Artist. Today, you can find this grandfather on TV as he is the host and executive producer of Kupuna Power, which is a platform that seeks to educate and empower Hawaii's elderly. He is a living legend, and I am so stoked to talk stories with him today. His name is Brickwood Galuteria. Aloha, Brickwood. Welcome to the Keep It Low podcast. How are you doing?
Mahalo and aloha for having me. Gee, who'd you just introduce? My goodness.
That's all you. And I left stuff out. If
Wow.
I added everything, we would have been here for another couple of minutes.
Hey, congratulations on the success of your podcast.
Mahalo.
This is another platform, that I'm not quite familiar with, but I am familiar with microphones.
Well, yeah, you've been in front of a microphone for many, many years, but now you and Kimo, our past guests, you have your own podcast that you record at our studio called Hawaii Recalls, and you're kind of just getting your feet wet with the podcasting world, right?
Yeah, it's interesting as stages develop. And this is a stage, and we're used to something that a little bit closer to the ground, I guess you could say, because we're at it every single day. We're doing it from 5 to 10, and we had to be very disciplined about
Showing
up, making the mornings. We would go, and this is during the first part of the partnership with Kimo, when we started FM 100. That was back in the 80s, I think it was.
Wow, that's
80s,
crazy.
something like that.
Wow. Well, let's get into all of that. Let's start from the beginning. Let's get to know your whole life story until what you're doing now.
Okay.
I want to know where you from, where you grad, and what was it like growing up?
Okay. Well, I'm as far as location, I'm kind of bipolar on that. Because
Oh, like the weather today.
like the weather today can't make up its mind.
Yeah.
But we're sitting in an area that my dad grew up in, Kaka'ako. And so part of my childhood was spent in Kaka'ako, right down the street. And where the park is now, the Kaka'ako Gateway Park, that used to be actually the dump.
Oh,
It
wow.
was a city dump. And where the children's center is now, that used to be the incinerator. Oh. And then all around that there were homes. And before the dump or after the dump, if you move in Mauka, was a police shooting range. Wow. And then there was the where everybody lived. And Kakako was made out of different camps, nationalities. Mm-hmm. So we actually lived in the Japanese camp, but it was a Filipino Portuguese family. Mm-hmm. My father, Arnold Galuteria, and his parents, Pedro Galuteria from the Philippines. My grandmother was from Rose Galuteria Rodriguez from Maui. Mm. But they settled in Kakako and had 9 children. And I'm part of that family. My father was the oldest of the Galuteria men. Mm-hmm. And had 5 aunties and 4 uncles and
big family, local family. Yeah,
Yeah, I guess they didn't have TV in those days.
Yeah, you just hang out, talk stories.
Well, more than talk story, you had 9 kids.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then the other side of me comes from Kapaulu.
Oh, okay.
So my mom comes from Kapaulu, Juliet Galuteria. Kauhi is her maiden name. And her father's Joseph Kauhi and my grandma Susie Nani Kauhi. She's a hussy from the Big Island. And they had 2 children. They had my mom, Juliet, and my uncle, Richard Kauhi, who is, if you look his name up, he was one of the finest piano players to come out of Hawaii. And he brought jazz to Hawaiian music. So Richard Kauhi is his name. But yeah, so that's where I'm from. I'm from urban Honolulu and proud of it. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm a city guy.
Yeah, as a city boy. It's cool that you kind of can reference your home Okuauhau in a way, you know, just at least a couple of generations.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like when like people my age, we don't really do that as much, you know?
Yeah.
And
you got Ancestry.com.
Yeah. I just did my Ancestry.com, so I got my DNA test. I saw that I was Maori and I think some sort of Dutch.
Wow.
But mainly I was 30% Portuguese, which isn't surprising to anybody.
Yeah.
And then Hawaiian, Korean, Japanese, and 1% North African.
North African?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's something to cherish.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like maybe if people did a DNA test, they'd find that they might be like some sort of percentage African because we all come from there, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Well, we all poi dog too, yeah.
Yeah. We all mixed plates, poi dog, all of that.
Yeah, and proud of it too.
Totally.
I mean, I take my history seriously, and I want my children and my grandchildren to understand where they come from too. And of course, they got to create their own lives. But for us, you know, the diaspora is real. And in diaspora being, you know, those who have left Hawaii in particular. And so 3 of my 5 children now live away. They live on the continent.
They're part of that statistic where there's more Native Hawaiians living outside of Hawaii than there are living in Hawaii.
Yeah, unfortunately. And, you know, we try and do the very best we can to provide opportunities for them back here. But, you know, they've made the decision and they would love to come back. But I think their quality of life is enhanced by their ability to make a decent living in the fields of choice, you know.
Yeah.
So,
and not pay $6 for a gallon of milk.
Unbelievable.
$8, I don't know what it is.
Unbelievable. But they're doing well. In fact, you know, my oldest son he's in Prescott, Arizona.
Oh, I was just in Arizona.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I had to go there for a wedding, and my girlfriend's family is over there. Speaking of milk, we went to the grocery store, went to Walmart. Everything is so cheap there compared to here. Really? Gallon of milk was like $2 or $3.
Unbelievable.
It was crazy.
You know, so
we're tripping out.
You know, he left Hawaii because he said, "Dad, I gotta go." So ended up in Colorado, and then eventually moved to Arizona. And his children we're so proud of them. His oldest son, my oldest grandson, is a pilot.
Oh, wow.
So he's like he flies for this a family that owns station casinos. So he's kind of like an Uber pilot. I mean, and hello. And then my granddaughter from my oldest son is a hairstylist / dental assistant.
Oh, okay. So she can clean your teeth and do your hair at the same time.
Yeah, and she gets to charge you twice for that.
Hey, there you go.
And then my youngest one from the older boy is more of an artsy type. Artsy type. We spend time together, right? When they come to Hawaii, when he was about 14, he's 20 something now. He was 14. He liked the superhero stuff.
Oh yeah,
so I used to take him to go to the bookstore, Hawaiian bookstore, and take a look at the legends and that sort of thing, Maui and things like that. He loved that stuff.
Cool.
I said, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" He said, "Grandpa, I think I want to ponder." I said, "What? You think you want to ponder? You want to think?" He says, "Yes, I think I want to think." I said, "Okay, we'll try and find you an occupation for that, man." But he's an artsy type. So, thank you for letting me talk about my kids, because I'm really proud of them.
Yeah, I could tell you love them very much. You're very passionate.
And if you want to know what makes me passionate, it's one of them is the special needs community, because my second son is a Down syndrome, right? He's beaten the odds. He's 49 years of age. We live with him. He's definitely a blessing, and it kind of rubs off, right? And it keeps us, he's a compass. He's kind of our compass. My third son lives in Edmonds, right out of Seattle.
Oh, okay.
He's a banker. He's doing well for himself. Has two of our youngest, Opuna, and we just love them. And I love my daughter-in-laws too, because they take care of my sons. But
yeah. So only sons, no daughters?
No, I have two daughters.
Oh, okay.
So
haven't gotten
the older daughter is, she has 5 children.
Oh, wow. Oh, sweet. How many grandchildren do you have?
I have 10.
Okay.
So 10, and 5 live away and 5 live home here.
Oh, okay.
You see. The oldest grandson is from my daughter, is an engineer.
Wow.
So he's doing very well for himself. Next one is a Air National Guardsman.
Solid.
And the other one is kind of like the ponderer. They're finding themselves at
they're still thinking.
20. Yeah, they're still thinking. Yeah, correct. And my granddaughter from my daughter just started her freshman year at Grand Canyon University.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And she's got an interesting story. There's a realism to why she's at Grand Canyon. During her junior year in high school, she had a bout with lymphoma.
Ooh.
And that was very, for her, taxing, and obviously for the family too. But we learned a lot, and she learned a lot about herself, and she is now in remission, which is great. Awesome. And she graduated from IA high school. During her junior year, she couldn't do any live classes, had to be virtual because of her illness. And she's an achiever. Thanks for letting me brag.
Go for it. It's your episode.
Great. That's the right answer. But she realized that, she's an A student, right? She got 1 B during her junior year. She went to the principal and said, "Can I repeat my junior year?" He said, "No, move on." She honors during her senior year. And she decided, well, she was really impressed at her medical care. So she wants to be a nurse. Actually, she wants to be an anesthesiologist.
Oh, wow.
I said, right, you take them down, you got to bring them back up. Okay.
Yeah, I was just under anesthesia not too long ago.
Oh, yeah, looks like you went through something too.
Yeah.
Wow. And then, of course, I got one final grandson, from my daughter.
Yeah.
And he's a special guy too. He likes to observe. He's an observer.
Okay, so you got a thinker, you got an observer.
Yeah, I know.
You got them all.
I got them all.
Nice.
And then my youngest daughter just got married.
Oh, congrats.
So we're up in Vegas. She lives in Vegas.
Oh, okay, nice.
So we're up there having a good one. And Sean, who's the 49-year-old guy, is a special guy. And we like to say he doesn't have special abilities, he has different abilities. But he's a shooter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he shoots
wow.
craps.
And he has a hot hand.
He He has a hot hand. On the table, people are beginning to assemble
Wow.
when he throws.
We got to go to Vegas with him.
Got to go to Vegas. He's a good luck charm, man.
Yeah. We'll get back to more of your life story, but since the topic of Vegas and the casino is up right now, do you think gambling in Hawaii would ever be legal? I just watched a video on YouTube where you're talking about gambling. This is maybe like 10 years ago or something.
Yeah.
Because Hawaiians, we love to gamble, right? We're always in Vegas, always at the casinos, the slot machines.
Sure.
Why isn't it? And a lot of states are legalizing it too, especially like sports betting.
Yeah.
Because I watch football and they're always talking about it now.
Sure.
Do you think that's ever going to be a possibility here in Hawaii?
I am very hopeful about that. To understand the dynamics of the gaming industry, one of the reasons, and I truly feel this because I was deeply involved in trying to get gaming here when I was in the Senate. But the opponents, in large part, are those who the casinos away. They're not looking for any competition. And Hawaii is located in the perfect spot where East meets West. And so, the East got a lot of gambling. And of course, the continent and wherever. But Hawaii is, I think, primed for it. And on top of that, it's a incredible revenue producer for the state.
That's what I was thinking. Then we don't have to rely just on tourism. But we'd also get some money from the tourists that want to gamble while they're here, right?
I went up, yes, absolutely. Yeah. And if we could keep it, because of my interest in Native Hawaiian affairs, right? If we could make it exclusive as a revenue production for a somewhere that is owned by a Native Hawaiian entity.
Like on the Indian reservation, Hawaiian homes kind of
that kind of
thing.
Stuff. We'd like to, if I had my druthers, I'd prefer it to be somewhere close to Waikiki.
That would make sense.
Yeah,
Waikiki would.
In fact, what we're going to do, I mean, this is...
It'd be a great location.
It's no longer under the radar if I say it. But what we were trying to do, and when I say we, it's a loose fit. There were a couple of us who were really advocating for gaming. And what we were aiming for was the convention center.
Ooh.
Because if it's a location right outside of Waikiki, so that the proximity for both the visitor and the locals could fit.
That would be crazy.
Right.
That'd be a perfect location.
And, obviously it's got to be passed by the legislature, and there's opponents, there's proponents, and it's going to take, it's a heavy lift, but it's got to be consistent. It's got to be voted on, or at least discussed each session, every session. So hopefully somebody's going to be introducing a bill. Now, in legislative work, it's a skill set. It's how you move stuff in and out of that building. And so it's going to take I think, some real, definitely people are going to need to lean in on this one. But I think there's more, for gaming, there's more pluses than minuses. Of course, there's a social stigma, and there's, gaming could be addictive. I mean, obviously it is to many people,
Yeah, I see the commercials. It's like, if you have a gambling addiction, call it
That's
when
right.
I'm watching like the NFL stuff or listening to fantasy football podcasts.
Yeah. And there's, of course, not only that, but I think that the social, put it this way, there's more plus than minuses in my book. And I'm hopeful that one day we'll have gaming and it will help improve the quality of life for all of Hawaii.
Yeah.
So that's my answer to that. That's my long answer to your short question.
Yeah, no, it's not an easy topic. I think that in the future, I would love to see that because I love sports so much. And then, I would just play cards at my neighbor's house. We just play. We got like the chips that we just, use as our casino, whatever over there. And we just play cards. It's so fun.
Well, there's a lot of, I can't say a lot, but there's some illegal game houses around.
Oh, yeah, I see. I've never been to those yet, but no.
Yes. No. So there you go for the gaming.
Okay, interesting. All right, so reversing a little bit, going back to your upbringing, you went to Kamehameha. You said off the podcast that you're a lifer, and then so you graduated. And what was that period like? What kind of things were you into? Were you always good in front of the mic?
You know, I've always been well, I get nervous just like anybody else, but I love to engage. You know, I love to engage with people, and I found that during my growing years, I was around a lot of showbiz stuff, and my mom she's a singer in Waikiki. My uncle was a great pianist. My dad loved music. He was a great musician too, and so for the most part, I grew up on stage almost, but off stage watching on stage.
Yeah.
Right?
Around the stage.
Around the stage. So I had no problem getting up and talking story. And then we come from Kaihaʻo Church too. So there's a lot of interfacing with the congregation and friendships and, singing in the choir and stuff like that. So, I mean, I got no problem getting in front of a group of people. And then, of course, there's what you do once you get in front of people and what you talk about. And so I really believe in service. I believe in public service. And but I went through the years of developing the stage presence too. I started when I was in high school. Oh, back to Kamehameha for a second, since we're talking about Kamehameha School. So I started in kindergarten all the way through. I was schooled by many beautiful, beautiful people. One of the aunties, because everybody's your auntie, or uncle. Yeah. And this is general. It's not just exclusive to Kamehameha. It's exclusive to Hawaii, maybe.
Totally.
But and you don't know they're not your auntie or your uncle until you grow up, because you figure,
or you don't know if it's somebody else's auntie or uncle because they're calling them auntie and uncle. And you're like, is that really your auntie or uncle?
That's right. And you always got to check the DNA or the line, because you may be dating your cousin.
Oh, that's the scary part.
yeah, because your mother is going, so what's the last name? No. But Kamehameha was, I think for me, a highlight of my life. I don't know anything else. It embedded in me the Native Hawaiian ethos, if you will, and why I'm proud to be Hawaiian. Not that I'm not proud to be Filipino or Portuguese, but there's a value proposition of being Hawaiian in Hawaii, and that's where I come from. But I can still eat poi and viñedoros and adobo on the same in the same meal. You know what I mean? And so, Kamehameha informed my decision making, and it still does. I went back to the school last year, my 50th reunion.
That's crazy, 50 years.
And as I was telling you off the pre-podcast, I had this compelling need to see my kindergarten class, and I went. I parked lower campus, elementary, and literally walked memory lane. And then it's split up into 3 campuses, right? So this was the elementary school, and then I walked to the intermediate school, and I relived a lot of memories. And then I went to the stairs that take you up. All the way up. And I remember that the alumni luau was at the top, and I was at the bottom. I'm thinking, gee whiz. Well, okay,
a lot of stairs.
God, that's a lot of stairs. I said, okay, check it out. But I went to the next level, which was the Kekuaupio gymnasium, and there was a shuttle service.
Oh, nice.
So perfect. What I did, appreciate. I didn't at the time, because you see it every single day. You just take that view for granted. But when we went to the top, I just looked around and said, my goodness, I had this every day for the first, 18 years of my life almost. An amazing thing to take for granted, but really appreciate. And I appreciate the Princess Bernice Pauahi Bishop and her, striving to create good and industrious men and women, which is, hopefully she's proud, certainly of this guy. But I don't know, sometimes need a couple slaps,
Yeah, we all do once in a while. But yeah, Kamehameha does a great job. We have had a lot of past guests who are, Kamehameha grads.
Yeah.
My mom's a Kamehameha grad. My little sister's a Kamehameha grad.
I know.
Yeah, so...
I know your family.
Yeah, so Brickwood he was classmates with my uncle, Patrick. Crazy.
That's right.
Yeah.
What Kamehameha did was, well, for me, was introduce me to the business of show. And I was part of the concert glee club. Okay. So during the senior year, we're preparing ourselves for the year. And then this gentleman by the name of Kalani Kakit, and Kalani was working for Hawaii Visitors Bureau at the time, and he was producing shows, promoting Hawaii. He came up, he recruited us. We ended up touring. So we toured Canada, we toured continental United States, and that's where we got the taste, kind of like the taste for the showbiz. Came back, a bunch of us from the school created our musical group, and then we started, we were asked to, and we were still seniors in high school. Guy Ken Mokuakane, Kenny is, he's a terrific songwriter.
I think my mom just said that that's our cousin or something.
Oh, is that right? Big Island?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Kenny is a kahu at Kwaihao Church now.
Wow.
He's a classmate. He was in our group. Naleo o Kamehameha. Another classmate, this guy, Miles Kahaloa, he was another guitarist, great man, no longer with us. And ironically, in his next generation, Kahaloa, his daughter Kirsten is a representative in the House, the State House of Rep.
Oh.
Kirsten. She keeps in touch. Chris Keli'ia'a was a member of the Pandanus Club with Kenneth Mokuakane. He was in our first band. And Chris and Wes Kiraoka was with Mokeale. And so we all kind of branched out into our own fields of music. And then we went on to do our own thing. But ultimately, that's when I first met Marlene Sai. And then eventually went on to become a part of her band, her orchestra at the Monarch Room. And then everybody did their things. And we stayed connected and love each other. And I know 3 of them looking down at us now from the choir of angels. But Ken and I still see each other weekly at church.
Oh, okay.
And every now and then pick up the guitars.
Nice. And so you went pretty far with it, as to win a hōkū from your music career.
Yeah.
Was that like the goal, was to be a musician?
The goal was to put food on my family's table, and music did that for me. I had a fortunate. I was very fortunate to be able to feed my family through my music, and then and also feed my soul, right? And so I did that as long as I possibly could, and then I needed to kind of move on. Gigs were not as well; they were kind of scarce, but I also wanted to feed myself in different ways. One day, I was talking to, I think I was talking to Skylark, and she was the Honolulu Skylark. She was the on-air personality, along with this guy Crash Kealoha.
Heard that name multiple times.
And Kimo Kahuano.
Yeah.
So the 3 of them were working for KCCN 1420 AM. And I can't recall if it was Sky, but I was approached if, I wanted to do radio. And so I said, of course. whatever. And so we did a couple. There was the slot was 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., the overnighter.
Cool, for the graveyard shift.
Graveyard shift. And so I was up for the gig, and the other guy was this guy, Ed Ka'ahea. And Ed was with a group called Booga Booga.
Oh,
now, you go back a little bit. This is the first great comedy team, Booga Booga. Rap Replica, James Grant Benton, and Ed Ka'ahea. Ed was up for the gig. I got the gig. I created this little, and radio, as you know, is the theater of the mind, right? You're not on camera. So you got to get people to think. And I created this show called The Biggest Little Nightclub in Town. And I literally treated it as a stage. And I was introducing guys from the stage. I said, coming on stage. And I'd have the glasses tinkling in the background and the clapping going on and stuff like that. And that lasted for a little bit. And then they asked me to move to the afternoons. And I was still playing music at the time. And so we created what we call the afternoon club. And then eventually moved to the morning show. And Kimo and I did the morning show. We started FM 100. And we created genres like Hawaiian music and stuff like that. And the great music of the day included the C&Ks, the Brothers Kaz, Sons of Hawaii. I mean, that was stock, lock, and barrel Hawaiian music. And then the scene was, interestingly enough, the scene wasn't getting stale, but it needed like a little kick. So the music of a hybrid came up, which was like a reggae.
Like Kupuna.
Kupuna. The early days, and this is more informational for your audience.
No, it's just so interesting. I'm loving it.
So in the early days, which is maybe the late 70s, early 80s, I think one of the proponents of quote-unquote Hawaiian music is this guy named Butch Helemano. And Butch was like a piece of work in the sense that he was like a Hawaiian Bob Marley. But he was Hawaiian where he had long hair. He'd wear malos when he was singing reggae. It was like a weird combination.
Yeah.
And he'd have 3 microphones. He said, I need 3 mics because I'm not going to hold a mic. I'm just going to dance from mic to mic to mic. And so he was definitely ahead of his time. And then you had this guys like Nolan, Brother Nolan come along, and Walter, Brother Walter, Aipolani, and the whole Ikanis of the world. And, I know I'm missing a lot of guys, but we really appreciated it. When we coined the phrase Hawaiian, I was talking to a couple of guys from the Green and from the Common Kings. Yeah. Now, I don't know. I'm completely grown out of that demographic. But they asked me one day, how did that come about, Hawaiian music? And I said, it was very simple. Hawaiian has nothing to do with Ja, which is the religious pathway for the Jamaicans, right? Although it's Hawaiian. Hawaiian simply for us means jam in Hawaiians.
Oh.
Jam in Hawaiians.
Wow.
But it pretty much took over the scene. It just took over and it became its own genre. We created a genre in the Nā Hōkū Hanohano Awards for Hawaiian music, an award, right? But yeah, that's part of the growth for me in showbiz and in music was the local, keeping up with the Joneses, creating new genres as best as we can, informing, and doing it in a way that I think is appropriate, maybe a little cutting edge.
Well, you got to be, to innovate. Can't keep doing the same boring stuff all the time.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Innovate. I've had some really good partners in my time. Well, two in particular, a few too, but Kimo Kahuano, who is an incredible personality and just a good brother. Love him a lot. Frank B. Shaner, incredible, gifted comic genius, in my opinion. We did the morning shows for about 8 years on the next station that I was at, which was, we started Hawaiian, KINE, Hawaiian 105, KINE. A lot of that was because we actually outgrew FM 100. We got into the next,
the next tier, the next level.
The next age,
the next age
level. And so Frank and I did that. Kimo and I did it for about 8 years, and Frank and I for about 8 years. In between there, I was, the partners included a gal named Noi Tanegawa, was just an incredible voice, and Charlie Espina, another beautiful voice. And, I'm so grateful for friends in broadcasting and the friends in television, radio and television that I've come to know and appreciate and love, and we're still friends to this day. And so, sometimes you just, you return to old good habits, like jumping in front of a microphone with Kimo again. So we've had a good time.
Yeah.
And hopefully we're going to launch this new Hawaii Recalls.
Yeah, I'm going to be helping to share and wishing you all the best. And I hope, from these episodes with you and Kimo, it creates a lot of buzz and, people will head over to Hawaii Recalls and start to follow and listen to your stories, because you two are, key figures in the history of Hawaii in entertainment over the last 50 years or so,
Yeah.
And I'm still learning more about you. I've only recently found out about you not too long ago. I think I might have met you real quick with one of my mentors, Lincoln Jacoby, whom you mentored. And now he's mentoring me. So it's cool.
Link, yeah. Well, you got a great teacher there.
Yeah.
Because, Link knows, he's got I playfully call guys like Lincoln, they got the water stick.
What does that mean?
Well, if you got the water stick, you can find the water. He's got the business water stick.
Yeah.
So he kind of understands how that works. And he can make something out of nothing almost.
Totally.
I've seen that happen many times.
And he has all the connections. He's just such a kind guy.
Yeah.
So amazing.
And kind is good, Kind is a wonderful asset to have. You don't always have to be edge. But if you can have all of these arrows in your quiver and pull it out when you need to, that's kind of like a secret there.
Totally.
I just gave you something to think about, right?
Yeah.
To expand your quiver of arrows, rather, that you can pull out when you need it. Because sometimes you got to be hard and fast, but other times you got to be hugging and, and everything with aloha.
Totally.
As much as possible.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. So you had a great career in entertainment. And at what point did you decide, hey, I'm going to get into politics? It seems like it's kind of becoming a common theme these days of people in some sort of entertainment or, I don't know, in front of the spotlight getting into politics. People like Augie T. People like Brenton Owa, who was on the news. Yeah. I mean, even Donald Trump, right? He had his own TV show. He was a businessman. Now he's our president,
Augie will, and I know he'll appreciate this, but when he started in radio, he came to hang out with Kimo and I. And then he eventually moved into his own spotlight. But he's got game. And I like the way he kind of flips-flops on the showbiz and the public service. And he's able to live in both worlds equally and just as efficiently too. I think for me, I just wanted to ensure that I was civically engaged. But interestingly enough, Frank Shaner is kind of what helped push me over the edge. He doesn't know this, but he does.
Yeah.
Because he would speak in very conservative terms. And I'm more of just left of center. I'm a moderate. And Frank's a little left of right of center.
Okay.
But we'd be talking on the air, and there was sometimes where he knew he'd be scratching my itch on that one. And I couldn't come back the way I wanted to come back, and he'd just have a ball. And I told myself, well, listen, I got to find a place that I can express these things, because on radio, unless you're completely, dedicated to the left or the right, like many of the media are, it's hard to play the center without being neutral. I mean, and being intentionally neutral, right? So I had to do that. I had to be intentionally neutral, but I wanted to say stuff.
Yeah.
So I had to find platforms to say it. And it eventually became such a platform that I ended up, unbeknownst to my plans, the chairman of the Democratic Party of Hawaii. In part, I think because of my ability to bring people together and find common ground.
You had the skill sets from what you've done before, so you kind of just took it into another avenue.
And politics is not for everyone. Although politics involves everyone. The one franchise people have is to vote. Now, not everybody's made to be a public official, but everybody has a vote. So they should exercise that franchise.
No vote, no grumble.
No vote, no grumble.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that. But at the same time, accept, the outcome. And, accept defeat. Accept defeat with humility, and accept success humbly. Because you never know. Some people have 2 years on their clock. Some people have 4 years on their clock, and they got to come back around and ask to, be given the opportunity again to serve. So I served in the as a Democratic Party chair, and it was a really good time, because it was when at the time Senator Obama was kind of gearing up to run for the presidency, and the fact that he comes from Punahou, a lot of people may not know he's a local boy, and he went to a fine institution of learning. Punahou is a great school. So he had and he's a local boy, right? And he was able to take that, put it as one of the arrows in his quiver, and he was able to pull it out when he needed to.
And it worked.
And it worked, right?
Shot it on the bullseye.
Yeah, bullseye. and so we're very proud of him. And I was the chair of the party as he was doing his ascension up the political ladder.
So did you guys work together at all?
Yeah, we did.
Nice.
We worked together. And then when he'd come down, I'd invite him to the conventions.
What is President Obama like in person?
Oh, local boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's a really nice guy. And, he really loves his family. And Michelle's a great gal. I mean, the first lady, just a great gal. And she kind of keeps him on the straight and narrow, too. And it's really interesting to watch. Because she's Manawahine.
Yeah.
And he knows that, and he gives her that. So his children, his two daughters are beautiful. They've grown up to be beautiful women. And Hawaii can always be proud of the president that we produced for the nation,
Yeah, totally. Wait, but sorry, going back, didn't you go to like Harvard or something?
I went to Harvard for a couple of during my Senate career. I'd go up to Harvard once a year.
Oh, okay.
And there was a cohort of legislators from all over the world, and we do collaborative solutions is what it was called.
Oh, okay.
And we take our initiatives and we throw it on the table, and a whole cohort of colleagues would talk it through. So I was able to bring back solutions.
Okay, nice.
For some of the things that interested me, and I knew interested Hawaii as well. So that was my years at Harvard. I went to Pacific University for about 2 months. And I said, it's not. I don't know. But, so in the chronology is I went to Pacific, but I was also doing promotional work for Hawaiian Airlines. So I was still flying around.
Yeah.
And then I came back and there was an opening and I started my career as a sales executive for Hawaiian Air.
And then you went up, right?
And then up the ladder on down. And I was also involved in the tour business. I was a tour director in Waikiki. Yeah. And that's kind of backwards because I was a tour director first, and then I was in sales for Hawaiian Airlines. But that's where I kind of honed in on my corporate skills. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, you put it all together, it's like, holy cow.
You got a lot of arrows in that quiver.
6 of this and half a dozen of the other. But I'm proud of them all.
Yeah.
I'm proud of my service in the Senate. That was an incredible 10 years for me. Mm-hmm. Because you gotta understand the body politics. The body politics is, how can I help you help me? Help mm-hmm. you, help me help you, right? Mm-hmm. And so I came to learn real quick that, you win some, you lose some. So get over it. Remember it.
Yeah, I think people need to hear that because, as they're watching this, it's a week since the elections were decided. And, I follow both sides on social media. I see people crying. I see people celebrating.
Yeah.
It's a very sad, but, it's a sad time for people who don't like the outcome. And it's a very happy time for people who like the outcome. But I think regardless, we can still be friends. We can still show aloha. And we can still, live our lives like we're living right now.
Yeah.
Nothing has happened yet. Everybody's afraid of what's going to happen. Everybody's excited of what could be. But I think nothing has happened yet. Nothing has happened.
Yeah, for those, I literally had to talk some friends off the cliff, right? You guys called me and said, I'm jumping off the bridge.
Crazy. They want to move out. They say they want to leave America.
Yeah. It's, we can't get any further than Hawaii.
Exactly. This is the best place to be.
This is the best place to be. I mean, you're talking about the most isolated set of islands in the world.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny. I had a friend. He lives in California, but he's in Vegas during sports season because he does like a gambling show. So he's like, after the election, he messaged me saying, I want to get off of the main 48. And I was like, well, don't come to Hawaii because gambling's illegal. So you got to go, I guess, Alaska or something.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, and this is going to be really interesting because from a purely political perspective, everything's flipped. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now you have President Trump will be returning, and he's got an agenda, and now he has a red Senate to help with that agenda. He's got a red House that's going to help with that agenda. I wouldn't want to be in the minority with that kind of dynamics. And the Supreme Court is also conservative as well. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you got the 3 branches of government that are going to be conservative, I guess you could say. I'm not sure what to call it these days because this is not the Republican Party I remember running against at the time. And so I kind of aloha my colleagues in the party that I recall, because they were great people, and they remain great people. One of my good friends was Sam Sloan and he represented the East Side, Hawaii Kai, down to Kahala, I think it was, and he was the minority leader. When I got into the Senate. The state Senate, there were like maybe 17 Democrats and 8 Republicans. Mm-hmm. As a Democrat, I mean, you're in the majority, but you also have, I think, a viable minority that can really stand up and say, well, wait a minute, hold on a second, or they can advance with proper partnerships with Democrats and they could move things. It eventually whittled down to one Republican. That was Sam. and 24 Democrats, which is a little unwieldy. And I was a majority leader. And in that type of work, you got to know what everybody needs. How can I help you? Help me help you.
Yeah.
You know, like, Kamaka, what do you need? I mean, what does your district need? How can we keep you there? But how can you take something home with you, right? A school, fix the roads, a park, or whatever it is, right? And so Sam, we talk a lot. And we were friends, although we were adversaries politically. We would finish our business on the floor and we'd go have lunch, which is kind of a perfect scenario, especially if you got the majority, right? But he was a gentleman, and he stood up for he stood up for everything that he needed to stand up for. I mean, if he got paid by the syllable, he'd be a millionaire.
Dang, I need to get paid by the syllable, because then I'd also be a millionaire.
It was quite funny when he was by himself over there, and both sides got like equal spaces, like the caucus room and the staffers, and he'd be sitting there by himself, and I'd be sitting in the caucus with 23 other colleagues, right? He'd have his own staff, big staff. I mean, it was kind of off, but it was what it was. He'd get up when he was ready to speak on the floor of the Senate, and he'd look at me across the way. I look at him, and he said, and then he looked back at the president. He says, "Mr. President, I speak for the entire minority." And he looked back at me, and I'd be laughing because I said, "Sam, you are the entire minority." But these are special times. I think going forward, Hawaii needs to be Hawaii. The continental United States is going to take care of its 48.
We need to focus on ourselves over here.
We need to focus on ourselves. We need to try and, lessen the exodus as best as we can. And also, I would like to, ask those in your audience, to think about public service. And think about how you're going to find mentors to walk you through. Because it is an organized process on how to be civically engaged in a public office capacity. And so I'm hoping that we're kind of encouraging the next generation of leaders to, and the next generation of young people who aren't, even the, adolescents, even those in the intermediate grades, they can start to think about leadership.
Yeah, I'm seeing the change. Younger people around my age starting to run and getting involved in politics.
Good,
and I think it's great. I personally don't want to do that as my public service, offerings, but I feel like it is a space that my generation needs to be more involved in. Especially with, we're the ones on social media complaining all the time.
Yes.
So if you want to complain, then go and make a change. And then you can make change in many ways. But if you really want to make change at a higher level, you got to get into politics. I think that's the reality of it. Before we get into social media questions, because we have a couple questions for you, I want to get your opinion or maybe some advice on how do you think we can move forward with Aloha during this political season? Say you know somebody that voted for Trump and they're like, oh, I don't necessarily like Trump, but I like the policies or whatever. And that's why they voted, because now I see people saying like, oh, if you voted for Trump, unfollow me. I can't be friends with you. It's so divisive,
Yeah.
And like I said, like where you talk about being in the middle, like I'm very center, very neutral. So that I get to have conversations with both sides, like, oh, I like Kamala Harris because of this. I like Donald Trump because of this. Most people that I know that voted for Donald Trump don't necessarily like him. They just have more conservative views. And then most people that vote for Kamala, they like that, she's a minority, she's a woman. and that some of the policies they believe will benefit them. But yeah, I see it's very divisive. How do you think we can move forward with each other depending on, regardless of who you voted for?
Yeah. It's a common question, but it's a hard question to answer. And not really that hard. I mean, the human nature is, well, here in Hawaii anyway, is to embrace, you want to, I certainly do. I mean, I got friends, and I can't believe that they voted the way they voted, right? But I still want to, it'd be so easy just to disengage. It'd be so easy just to disengage. But to find that common ground that is apolitical, as not political. Some of my best music friends voted the other way, and I couldn't believe it. But then I realized that, wait, our common denominator is our music. So maybe that's going to find our way to get back together again. So hopefully there can be a common, it could be food, to find that, and, maybe just stay away from talking politics because it's already baked into the cake already. The decision is done. We can't do anything about it. Keep an eye on it, respond to it, and remain friends, if at all possible. I don't know whether I answered your question.
No, I think it did.
Find a common denominator and work from there. Start there.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. I wonder if you've ever seen America or our politics so divided in your whole entire lifetime. Because I feel like in my lifetime, this has been like the worst it's ever been.
Yeah. I can't see it. Certainly what I disagreed with the policies of the Republican Party. And but that never made me just, it was not as distasteful as it is today because of, I think it's the blending of the tactics that happened during this election. I mean, you don't need to call your opponent like a bitch or something like that. I mean, these things are, they don't speak to your character. Well, they do speak to your character, but and if you're gonna act that way, then you're gonna govern that way. Oh my gosh!
How you do anything is how you do everything.
Yeah, and that's what I saw throughout the entire campaign, and it was a short one because
because Biden pulled out.
Pulled out, and then
that would probably hurt the Democratic Party.
Yeah, it in some ways it did. But I couldn't, when the first turnouts came in and the first percentages of what demographics actually showed up, I was surprised. I was surprised that the Latinos went.
I saw that Latino men was in favor of Trump.
And it was interesting to watch a guy with an accent saying, "Don't let them in." That was like a weird. That I couldn't picture that because the very way he probably got there was the way that he doesn't want to let guys get in. So I couldn't. It was like just a weird kind of vibe that I got, but it kind of went to the sexist deal, maybe that men have to control. Now, I don't necessarily subscribe to that.
Yeah, I don't like when people make it about gender. Yeah. I think sometimes it is what it is.
Yeah, this would have been a really perfect time to have a Wayfinding president. But that's not to say that she cannot come back in 4 years and, hit the ground running again, maybe with a little bit more time involved. She could work it, or anybody for that matter.
Yeah, my theory is that because Biden, she was part of Biden's campaign, and we've seen him. He's getting really old, and he.
Yeah, well, who's the old guy now?
Yeah, is Trump older than Biden? Or he's
no, but he's older than Kamala.
Yeah,
he's older than everybody.
Yeah. But I think my theory is that her being connected to him kind of hurt her campaign. I was watching NBC and Fox. I kept switching between the stations during the election just to see what they said. And I think they were saying something like she was trying to distance herself. NBC was from Biden, and like she just couldn't distance herself enough because Biden kind of like, you know, his health has been going down.
Yeah,
and
if she had
people
more
are
time.
like, oh, the blue, like we were blue for the last 4 years, and now maybe people just wanted to change, even though Trump's personality and character isn't the best, you know?
Oh man,
that's what I got from like watching both of the stations.
Well, there's got to be a come to Democrat moment here where they're going to recalibrate, and come back with something. Might be the same, but this is now an interesting time where you're going to see who President-elect Trump chooses to fill his cabinet.
Oh, I've seen some people that like Tulsi, Elon Musk.
RFK,
is that his name? RFK?
Yeah, Kennedy.
Yeah, Kennedy.
Yeah. And so, and a lot of this stuff is, you know, payback too, you know, to be there for him at the front, and then now he's going to give them some bone on the backside, whatever that means, right?
Oh, because they like endorsed him and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So it's pretty much the science of the politics. You know, those who support you, you're going to support them because they help deliver you, that sort of thing. But at the same time, hopefully he'll pick people who can keep him in line too.
Yeah, I think that's probably for the best. Like how you said, Michelle keeps Obama in line.
Yeah, pretty much, you know, but, and it, you know, gosh, I think this is the first Wahine chief of staff that he's picked.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
You know, I can't recall her name, but we'll know her name in a couple of weeks when we start hearing the name every day for the next 4 years.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. I kind of like what you said earlier, just like stay off social media. If you really don't like what the decision was just stay off social media. Just don't watch the news. Just keep up with like the things going on, but you don't got to listen to them talk. You don't got to, you know, whatever. Just like, if I don't know, the economy gets better, like, okay, cool. If it gets worse, like, well, we just got to deal with it for another 4 years. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, well, we'll see. You know,
yeah, we'll see. That's at the end of the day, nothing has happened. We don't know. We'll see what happens.
We got a new president coming in. We had a new session happening in January, you know, and we'll see how everything fleshes out.
Right on. Awesome. Well, let's take a quick shishi break and we'll be right back. What if we told you the next 3 times you fill your tank, you could save money? Well, at Texaco in Hawaii, it's true. You can get $1 off per gallon on your next 3 visits when you download the Texaco app and join Texaco Rewards. Earn points on every fuel transaction and qualifying in-store purchases at participating Texaco stations. Download the app and join to get started today. Visit TexacoHawaii.com for details. All right, we're back from a quick shishi break. Let's get right into the social media fan questions. First one comes from somebody that you might know, mutual friend of ours. That's what Josh said today. He says, that's Josh, by the way. He says, we want to know what it was like on the Hōkūleʻa.
Oh.
Yeah, so I know you have some history with the Hōkūleʻa, so
yes.
Tell us about that.
That was incredible. It was... I think had a lot. It fulfilled my soul a lot, but it's hard work. I mean, that's hard work. You know, being part of an experience like the va'a, especially the va'a of that size and what it stands for too. So, you know, back when I was doing radio, I had. We wanted to encourage, well, you know, Hōkūleʻa is symbolic to the Renaissance, the Hawaiian Renaissance. And, you know, when it was launched back in 75, 78, 89, whenever it was launched, that was a symbol of the resurgence of Native Hawaiian things. That combined with Kaho'olawe and the occupation by Walter and George and all of the boys. That signaled a sense of activism, right? So it actually like kick-started the Renaissance, the Native Hawaiian Renaissance, that and other things as well. The Hōkūleʻa had a specific function in that, and that was, we come from a brilliant people who could sail with no means of modern navigational equipment, who navigated by the stars, by the winds, by the waves, by nature. We became one with. That was the science of the wayfinding, right? So the brilliance of that in and of itself, we were able to, it was a resurgence, if you will. So what we did was, while we were on the radio, we wanted the children of Hawaii to experience Hōkūleʻa. And I happened to be a member of the board of the Polynesian Voyaging Society at the time. And so we put a GPS system under one of the hulls so as not to compromise the wayfinding up above, because the navigators or the kalaipa'a, they got to find a star, right? And we didn't want any modern navigational means to help. But the children could follow the canoe. Mm. So for those in the DOE and the schools that participated, each day, we launched. Each day we'd have a report from the deck of the Hōkū, and whether I was talking, and we'd have it live on the radio. So while Kim and I were talking live on the radio to the deck, which was either Nainoa or whoever the skipper was, Achi Kalepa or whomever, they'd be giving us their particular observations. And where we are today, we're 22 degrees north or whatever it was. And then the kids could follow, right? And we had a complete system of education system on how to track the canoe and blah, blah, blah. So going down, it's like 25 days. And when you're, both hemispheres are different. The northern hemisphere, the winds kind of circulate counterclockwise. On the southern hemisphere, they go clockwise or whatever it was. I mean, I can't recall at this point, but I do know that it's different. Mm-hmm. And then in about the maybe 10th day, you hit what is called the intertropical convergence zone, which is the equator. There's no wind into the equator. Mm-hmm. And it's what is called the doldrums. And, one of the things I remember about the doldrums is a piece of music that was Roland Casimiro then came out with a group called the Hōkūleʻa. It was a musical group.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And all of the music was dedicated to Hōkū, right? And one of the songs is called Doldrum Blues. Because literally, you're sitting and say you throw a piece of bread in the water one day, the next day it might still be there because you haven't moved.
Whoa.
So you just kind of are at the whim of the weather to get you through the equator and through the doldrums. So I'm hoping I'm being appropriate when I say that. What the canoe tries to do is to try and get as much momentum going into the doldrums as possible.
Oh, okay. Like you're getting a head start and trying to trying
to get through it.
Yeah.
And then when you get to the other hemisphere, then the wind picks up again, and then you're into the following sea, or you move it.
So you could, if you don't have enough momentum, you could just get stuck there.
You could just get stuck there.
And then how do you get out?
Well, sometimes there has been when guys would have to bring out the paddles and actually paddle through.
Wow.
Now, if anybody needs to correct me because it's been a little while.
We get the gist of it.
But the gist is that there is a technique on how to sail a double hull canoe of that size.
Wow.
And we had to revisit some of the old techniques of sailing, obviously. But I think that, by and large, Herb Kane and Ben Finney and those who built the Hōkūleʻa did an incredible job. And, it's been mirrored in many other areas of the Pacific. The wayfinding techniques, as taught by Mao Piailug from Sarawal, he came up here and he taught Nainoa guys how to wayfind, and all of the navigators. And it's Mao that we can thank for that part of the resurgence, And so what we did was for the first third from Oahu straight down to Tahiti, we did daily reports. And then I jumped on the canoe, went down to Tautira. Tautira is where the canoe, and Kualoa, by the way, Kualoa over here on Oahu is where the canoe is historically launched from.
Oh, yes, that's right.
For all sails.
Oh, by the way, I met with Frank yesterday and he told me to tell you hi. Frank Among.
Oh, Frank.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, man. Oh, he's part of the family.
Yeah.
We're kind of, we're close in the sense that
Sorry to interrupt.
No,
that just reminded me.
That was very random, but tell him I said hello. So when we're down now, Tautira is where the canoe goes to rest and to be worked on, because it gets pretty battered on a 1,000-mile sail. You know what I mean? And so and then the canoe, and then the crew is, you replacing. And then from Tautira, you go to the other part of the island, which is this is the island of Tahiti, and then you launch from the other side, and then you go. Well, we went to Moorea, Ra'iatea, Huahine, and whenever Hōkū shows up, the island stops down, and the kids come out. And during those days, anyway, I'm not quite sure what the response is now. But something that was really interesting was when we were headed to Huahine, up here in Hawaii, was I think it was Eva, Hurricane Eva. I don't think it was Iniki, it was Eva. And so we wanted to land early to find out how our families were. And so we called the island and talked to the mayor, and can we come in early? He says, no, tomorrow the island is stopping down for you, all the kids. But here's what we can do. Let's sneak you to the back of the island. You're going to come in unannounced in the dark of night. And then we'll get you folks on shore. You can call home. And then we're going to sneak you back out. And you're going to come into a triumphant arrival the next day, which is what we did. I was able to find out that my father was okay because he was on Kauai. And Kauai was getting battered. So that's part of the adventures of Hōkūleʻa for me.
Oh, that's amazing.
And then from there, we went to, I think, Ra'iatea was a special stop because there's a Tapu Atea is a special area that is sacred, and the channel had not been, the channel to Tapu Atea had not been traveled for almost 400 years. So we were the first to head to that area. And it was extraordinary because as we made our way to Ra'iatea, there was a pod of dolphins, Niihau, that joined the canoe. And just
what a beautiful sight.
What a sight that was, right?
Yeah.
And it was kind of raining. And then there was a tahuna or a kahuna that was on shore or right offshore in the water that was chanting us in. And he chanted, it stopped raining.
Whoa.
He stopped chanting, it started to rain. It was like, wild, man.
Maybe that's what somebody's doing today. They're chanting and they're stopping. They're chanting and they're stopping. That's why their brain's like that.
We can't make up our minds outside there, man. Are we going to be wet or dry? But yeah, so that was a very special. And then we went to the Cook Islands from the Tahiti.
Yeah.
Went to from the societies.
The Rarotonga, is that Cook
Pardon me?
Islands? The Rarotonga?
Rarotonga.
Yeah.
Went to Mauke, Maupiti. And I'm trying to remember. This is like
I mean, you're already
long
doing a
ago.
great job remembering all these names.
And we ended up in Rarotonga, and we ended up in Rarotonga for I believe was a fest pack
Oh, wow.
that was there.
That's fact.
And then after Rarotonga was a trip back home, and that's when I jumped off and came back home. And then there were like, I think maybe 7. There were other canoes that joined Hōkū from the other islands.
How long was that whole journey for you?
Let me see. I think about a month, maybe.
Wow.
About a month.
That's great. And like, you're not talking to people back at home. You're just like off the grid the whole time.
No. Well, we were, I was a communications guy.
Oh,
So I was on the radio constantly.
yeah.
Well, talking. And so I was in touch.
Okay.
And
Like,
then-
like daily kind or?
Daily. This
Oh.
was daily reports.
Oh, okay.
Right.
But like from the, like
From-
in the middle of the ocean?
Yeah, from Hōkūleʻa.
Oh,
Because we have...
what year was this?
You have... this was 85, I think it was.
And the communication was good back then where you could,
Oh, yeah, you got radios.
but like that reached out like from all the way to Hawaii?
Yeah. You got
Oh,
radios.
I guess I don't know how radio works.
Yeah, they're...
I was thinking like cell phones and stuff.
Oh, well, cell phones too, but by and large, radio is the mode of communication.
But it reached that far?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, wow. Oh.
Hōkūleʻa has become is not only a symbol, but it is okay. There's another episode, so it came back, and we finished that. That voyage was called. Oh, before we started the voyage, I said, Nainoa, we need a name for this voyage. He said, oh, you name them. I said, I'm not naming this. So I went to see one of the aunties. And she gave me this long, like, the men and women of the sea going to da, 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 da. And it was nothing that we as communicators, like, I just saw the guys butchering this title on the news every night, right? So there was this wahine, Kiki Mo'okini. She was a retired teacher, but she sailed with us. She says, I'm going to name this. And she called it No Na Mamu, for the generations. And that was the name of the voyage. No Na
Wow,
Mamu.
that's a cool one.
Yeah.
And way shorter.
And way
She
shorter
didn't say
and
na
easy.
na kane me na vehine a me na mamo o ke kai.
Yeah, that was wild. But I think the next, for me, most one of the important, not that when Hōkūleʻa sails, it's always important because it brings people together. It's multi-generational, and it is I guess Hawaii in action. Or whatever, it is important. So, talk about intergenerational. So, there was, the next voyage, we set up a communications between, I moderated a conversation between Hōkūleʻa, 6 children, elementary school kids. We were at the Peace Satellite at UH and the space shuttle. So we called Hōkū, and then we called Lacey Veach is an astronaut, or was an astronaut, who went to Punahou. So I'm a Kamehameha guy. Nainoa and Lacey Puno guys. I said, hey, in spite of that, we're going to do this. So Lacey was in the space shuttle.
Mm-hmm.
We talked to him. The kids asked him questions. We talked to Hōkū. We talked to Nainoa. The kids asked him questions. Then Nainoa talked to Lacey. And we're having this triple conversation between the space shuttle, the Hōkūleʻa, and the kids.
Whoa.
It was extraordinary.
That's crazy.
And the most modern means of transportation in our time was talking to the most modern means of transportation in ancient times. It was pretty interesting.
That's amazing. Yeah.
And the kids were so...
They probably didn't even understand what was going on.
Well, the level of, it was for them, I guess it was like every day I get to talk like this, or maybe not. But the questions were very, very elementary in the sense that, where do you go to the bathroom? Where you brush your teeth, right? And and the guys were just, they were so great for us to be a part of that experience. In fact, I got them. I'll send it to you. We have it on tape.
Oh, I would love to watch that. That's super cool. They should put it on Netflix or something.
It's a pretty wild episode.
Okay, cool.
I'll get it to you.
Well, mahalo for sharing that story. That's amazing. I've never been on the Hōkūleʻa, but if they ever go to Madagascar, I would love to be a part of that voyage somehow. Or because I lived in Madagascar for 3 years.
Is that
in
right?
the Peace Corps. I was in the Peace Corps.
Oh.
So I would love to be part of that journey somehow, because they were supposed to come to Madagascar when I was there. I was there from 2016 to 2019, and they ended up, I think, going to South Africa instead or something.
Yeah.
They for some reason they switched their course.
What was? Oh yeah, that was a worldwide sail.
Yeah.
Why did you go to Madagascar? What's that place like?
I was in the Peace Corps, so I was volunteering.
No, what's the climate like?
Similar to here. You go to the coast, it's very green, very vibrant, and there's beaches and island life.
What's the vibe like?
Ohana style. Everybody's really nice. Everybody's friendly. The wildlife is similar to here.
Yeah.
But you go up to the countryside or the mount. What do we call it? The highlands. The highlands. That's where I lived, and it's really cold and flat. Flat lands or skinny trees, stuff like that.
Urban, suburban.
I mean, the city.
Rural?
They have the cities. They have urban, but it's one of the poorest countries in the world. Yeah. People live off less than $1 a day, so everybody got their rice fields, and even inside of the city, and it's very there's no middle class. Yeah, it's people are rich, people are poor. That's kind of how it is. Very corrupt.
Yeah.
But people are nice. They're hard workers. They do what they got to do.
When you go to some place like Madagascar, what's the mission of the Peace Corps?
It's to help people in developing countries and educate them or fulfill certain needs. So there's different sectors. There's education, youth and development, agriculture, health, and a couple other ones.
Where were you?
I was in education. So I never taught English before, but I was put in the education sector. So I taught English for 2 years in a rural community. And then I extended for a year, and I worked with a community health organization called JSI. It was under USAID. So I did their communication, and we went to a lot of the countrysides and did visits and helped with health stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, that's quite a commitment.
Yeah, 2 years, but it was a blessing in disguise because I loved it so much. And Madagascar became my second home. And especially with the connection with the language, the Malagasy language and the Hawaiian language, it's in the same Austronesian family.
Oh, really?
So it was
There's similarities, huh?
Yeah, a lot of similarities. So I would love to go back, if not with the Hōkūleʻa, just to go and visit.
Yeah, we got to get you on a Hōkūleʻa.
Yeah.
There's also other double hull canoes. Excuse me, other double hull canoes like the Hawaii Loa. Mm-hmm. Kona has one. Kauai has one. Maui has one.
Yeah.
The
Hikianalia, is that what it's called? Hikianalia. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole family and that's that came out of Hōkū. So
amazing. It's so cool you got to be part of that experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm grateful.
Mahalo for sharing that. Okay, we'll move on to the next question. This is a fun one. Chow_Kimo says, what's your favorite drink? I remember you used to love to party.
Too much information. What's my favorite drink?
Yeah, what's your favorite drink?
I like a good wine. I like a good Chardonnay. For red, I like Pinot. And sometimes, the thirsty requires some gin.
Just depends on the mood.
Just depends on the mood.
Yeah. Did you know that Josh is a sommelier? A wine sommelier?
Did I know that? I think I might have known that.
Yeah.
Gee, well, we're going to have to take advantage of his skill sets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't drink, so you guys can have extra cups.
Oh, yeah. And we wouldn't be doing it for us. We'd be doing it for
Exactly. You guys are so nice. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. Okay. Next question comes from RHV94. This person says, was it hard for you to switch from entertainer to your position with OHA?
No. I look at it as, one and the same almost, where you got to utilize skills in all these areas that I've been through. I find that there's something that I can always depend on. With the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, it's an interesting time where it's always a time of inflection over there. But I think by and large, we just got through with an election. We're going to take a look. We've got a new, well, not new anymore, but a CEO that is forward-thinking. We want to ensure that the Office of Hawaiian Affairs is doing everything that it can to help advance the Lahui and advance the Native Hawaiian perspective. Does entertainment and Office of Hawaiian Affairs? Well, I rely a lot on entertainment friendships. As an example, like yesterday, I helped convene a meeting. I really feel as if the Office of Hawaiian Affairs and the visitor industry have to be locked in and loaded together, because you talk about a Hawaiian ethos. The number one industry in Hawaii should stand for the culture has to be appropriate. So we're not talking, coconut bras and raffia skirts here, although that's a part of it. It's a much deeper, and so there's elements of the industry that, help the visitor get to places that they might not, to like a taro patch or something like that, right? And get them to work it as well. Yesterday, one of the reasons we wanted to convene a meeting, and Mufi Hanneman is a friend of mine, good friend of mine, and he's a former mayor as well. So we speak the same language in many ways. But trying to find a common denominator between HTA, he's the chairman of the board of Hawaii Tourism Authority. I wanted all of us to get on the same table and speak to how Office of Hawaiian Affairs can assist in the visitor continuum. And what I mean by that is what does the, in all the elements of the visitors, of the visit that is touched, what is the Hawaiian dynamic in that? Okay, so in this tourism strategic plan for the state of Hawaii, I'll go back a ways. And this may or may not be answering your question because I'm going way off. I'm kind of veering off the path.
No, go for it.
But back when I was a state senator, I intentionally wanted two committees. I wanted to chair two committees. One was the Committee on Hawaiian Affairs, and the other one was Committee on Tourism. And I wanted to make sure that we kind of found an intersection between the two. So one of the first things that I did was to examine the tourism strategic plan, which has 9 different strands, which pretty much covers the visitor continuum, from marketing, getting people here, right? That's what HTA does. And once they're here, access points. So that's the airports, that's the harbors, and then natural resources, where they go to visit, public safety, and so 9 different strands. See. One of them is Hawaiian culture. Okay. Now, at the time, Mike McCartney was the head of HTA at the time, and he's a friend of mine, a former senator too. So I was telling Mike, let's take the Hawaiian culture strand, and instead of being vertical, because everyone was in its own silo, right? I said, let's take the strand and let's make it horizontal, so that the Hawaiian culture runs through every strand. And let's do kind of like an informal audit of what that means. In some cases, it was clearly deficient. In other cases, more vibrant, in the marketing sector and stuff like that. So I wanted to revisit that concept again yesterday, which is why I asked Moose to come and visit us. And so with our executive team, his executive team, we sat down and I explained, this is what we're trying to do. Let's just see how OHA can help in all of these areas, and even in protocols, Native Hawaiian protocols. So hopefully we'll be able to flesh out a meaningful dialogue between the two entities.
Yeah.
And come up with, I started at 30,000 feet. What does that mean down on the ground? So, I mean, we'll see. We'll see how everything goes.
Yeah. It seems like it was a seamless transition for you, though.
Oh, to the question.
Yeah. I mean, you said it wasn't hard at all. And
No, it wasn't.
Sounds
hard.
like you were kind of, it was meant for positions like this. You're
you
good
know,
at talking, good at people. No?
I kind of go where, where the light is, because I'm certainly not leading this. There's another entity that I believe in that is taking me down these roads. So I just kind of, I go where I'm led.
Wherever you're pulled. Okay, awesome. Okay, so this next question, and this is one of the questions that I'm sure you get a lot. This comes from the JXRMG Life. This person says, what is DHHL doing to make more land available for the Hawaiians? They are waiting. I'm sure OHA gets this all the time.
Yeah, what is a challenge for Department of Hawaiian Homelands, DHHL, is getting people on the lands, and adequately providing the means by which to get on the lands. And there is definitely a process involved that allows for people to get on the list and then get on the lands. OHA's role is in a supportive role where we can provide, say, funding for home building or such. And we're working closely with Kale Watts and them over at DHHL. And we're trying to provide them. You see, we have lands too that we could probably work together with them on. And so dialogue has been and continues to be going. But basically the idea is to lessen that list. There's too many people on the list.
So it's not about just telling people to wait. It's actually like telling people that they're just off the list. There's too many people on the list.
No, there's not too many people on the list.
Oh.
We just got to move that list a little quicker.
Oh, okay. So that's what you're saying.
It's not about dropping people from the list.
We have to.
It's about getting people on the land.
So if you get more people on the land, then there's more space on the list.
And there's different models that have now been, I think, pursued and will be pursued. And that's, if there's not adequate lands, what about going up? So where the old bowling alley down here, Eisenberg Street, there's going to be not a condominium, but it's going to be an affordable housing, the first one of its kind Hawaiian homes is going up.
Oh. So it's a Hawaiian homes apartment building.
Pretty much.
Interesting. Because we see all these, I mean, we're in Kakaka, right? It's like we see the high rises coming up every single day.
This is urban Honolulu, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be the first of its kind.
Interesting.
And this is under Kali Watson's watch. I know he's been working on it for years. And so I'm not sure on the timeline for this, but it's another way to get people off the list and to provide them with housing.
Yeah.
And
not necessarily land. People want land, but at least this is a step forward.
Yes, and there's different categories for the land too. Yeah, there's pastoral land, there's agriculture, there's regular residential, and a lot of people. In fact, my mom was on the list. She passed, and so I still got to put our name back on the list. But we wanted. I think she asked for pastoral lands. Okay. Which would have taken our parcel off Oahu and probably would have been on the Big Island somewhere or some neighboring island. Yeah. Which would have been fine too. But yeah, so it's an ongoing process. Nobody gets dropped from the list. Okay. It's just trying to move the list a little quicker.
I think people are we have a slow lifestyle here. We're cruise, we're chill, but things take long. Potholes, the rail. The HHL. So I think people are kind of just, getting tired.
Yeah. Oh, I believe you've been on the list 30 years. I mean, yeah.
But is it still 50%?
Pardon me?
Is it still 50%, the blood quantum? Are they going to drop it?
That's what you've heard of the term, it'll take an act of Congress. That's what it's going to take. Congress has to lessen the blood quantum. And, I think it's, the preference would be 33% or something like that. 30%.
It's going to have to drop at some point, right? Just because it's not realistic. Like how many 50% Hawaiians out there are there going to be?
50%. Yeah. Just maybe 2 generations from that.
Yeah.
We'd be power ready.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, you put everybody on an island together.
We got to do like the olden days, like in the Game of Thrones when they like married their sister or cousin or whatever.
Yeah. Have you ever been to Niihau, speaking of?
No, I would love to, though. I would love to go to Niihau.
That's a special place. Yeah. Too. We went to, and I don't think, have I adequately answered the question? You think so?
Wait, what was the
pretty
question?
Much that was a DHHL question.
Yeah. They said if there's going to be more land available for Hawaiians.
So this is, so we veer away from, be happy to go to the next question, but Niihau.
Yeah.
Niihau is a beautiful place.
Yeah, I would love to go. Hawaiian is my first language, so it's one of those places that I would love to hear how they speak and try to communicate with them.
I had a chance to go to Niihau a couple of times.
Yeah.
Right. And one was as a senator.
Okay.
And there was a specific reason. And so we learned that, they got the fishing grounds over there. And that's like their refrigerator. Mm-hmm. Specific to opihi, specific to whatever. So we were notified that if we could come to Niihau to speak, because some of the younger guys on Niihau, and there's not too many younger guys, but these are the guys who will carry the island to the next generation. Mm-hmm. They had learned that some of the fishermen from Kauai were coming over to the island, and they'd drop a guy on the island, go do their fishing, and the guy would rake some of the grounds, opihi grounds or whatever grounds, and then they'd come pick them up. And so the younger guys are getting kind of haululu about that. And they literally held the guy hostage. Well, the guys, they held him hostage. And they sent a clear message to the fishermen, don't do that again. Uh-huh. To which we were asked to come to the island to speak to the young guys, to tell them, don't do stuff like that. Okay?
You can't hold people hostage.
You can't keep people hostage. Okay? There's other ways by which to do this. But it was obvious that it was by design because they were doing it for a while, from what we learned, the raking of the grounds. And they did it like on a Sunday when everybody was at church.
Oh, smart.
Yeah. So, but the younger guys, they got word of it. They watched them. They held them and stuff. So we literally had to go. But then we had, this is where legislation comes in, where you put a barrier around the island. So as,
A physical barrier?
no, in statute.
Okay.
Like a 2-mile barrier or something like that, where guys cannot come in.
Yeah, kind of like maritime laws.
Yeah.
Borders.
Yeah, which is what we ended up having to do. But Niihau would be great for you if you could get to that place. The Robinson family, they're great, good people.
I gotta tell Josh to try to reach out and connect me with somebody there. That'd be really awesome.
One of the people one of the deacons, 2 of our deacons. Well, one of them, she comes from Niihau. Ipo Kanahele.
Oh, Kanahele.
Yeah, and they speak with the R's and the T's.
Yeah. I would love that challenge, just trying to decipher it in my head as I'm speaking with them.
Let me invite you to come to church at Kaiha'a one Sunday and sit with them and talk.
Yeah.
Because they're there every Sunday. They're deacons with my wife.
After football season.
After football season.
Yeah. It's hard to get me out of the house on Sundays on football season. I'm just going to be real.
Well, I must confess that sometimes during the service, I got my...
checking the scores.
I'm checking the scores and maybe even watching the game. But I've just confessed.
Yeah.
So, hey, sorry I got...
Hey, he'll forgive you. Yeah. Okay, last question comes from Patreon. It comes from Kealani. This person says, if you could snap your fingers and change any policy in this world, what would it be?
Wow, that's a really good question.
Maybe do one like nationally and locally, if you could choose.
Nationally, oh boy. That's
You could introduce a bill or something, change a policy.
Well, for nationally, there's... what is really interesting to me is people... One of the policies, or one of the things that the way people treat each other, is pretty interesting and subjective to where you come from sometimes. And the lack of tolerance towards the LGBTQ community, as an example, right?
Didn't you pass the law or something?
Yeah. That's why I was interested to see that on the ballot that there was a vote on the marriage equality.
To
for the legislature to go back
versus to disallow it.
Yeah, disallow it, because that's in statute, and I didn't see we didn't put a time limit in there.
Yeah,
I would just, if I could snap my finger, I would, and I could put something in. Well, that there's an Aloha spirit law.
Yeah, it's just hard to regulate it because.
Yeah.
You're not gonna get arrested for not showing aloha.
Yeah, right.
Unless that not showing aloha is like a robbery or
and I don't know how we could even to the full extent of the law.
If there was some way to like regulate the aloha spirit law,
spirit to the fullest extent of the Aloha spirit law.
Maybe we had monitors or something.
Yeah,
little trackers.
I know that's very vague, and it's the topic is.
That's a fun thing to think about.
If we could possibly do that. I'm not sure whether that answers your question.
I think that's great. I mean, I'm all about aloha and keeping it aloha, so I like that law.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah. Okay, I hope that takes care of that answer.
Yeah, I think we'll leave it at that. Yeah. Okay. Well, mahalo everybody for the social media fan questions. Make sure you leave some for our next guest, and maybe a question will make it on the podcast. I like to ask all of my guests as we come to the back end of the podcast about keeping it aloha. It's the name of the show. Something I try to do every single day of my life. So, in your life, how do you keep it aloha?
Yeah. I'm constantly reminded of that, first of all, when I look in the mirror, right? I'm thankful that, the guy in the mirror is still looking back.
Can see.
One day that ain't going to happen. The idea of being blessed with, and I'll go back to my son Sean. He is the epitome of keeping it aloha, right? Because he just can't help himself. He just finds good in everything he sees, and that's his nature. And this is like a really weird thing, but I've often asked myself, it's pretty much a self-serving question. You know, if I wanted to come back after, I'm given my adequate time here, if reincarnation is real, what would I want to come back as? And I blow myself away because I want to come back as Sean.
Wow.
And that's with no pretense, and nothing. It's just what I see and I live every day. I mean, I cannot tell you how it makes me feel. Now that's the embodiment of aloha. And so.
And can you remind people who Sean is? Like what's special about Sean?
My son Sean is a Down syndrome, which is a condition. It's a mongoloid condition. It affects physical, but it's also intellectual disability in a way. But then again, he redefines intellectual capacity too. And if there's something on the spectrum where intellect is governed by goodness, then his IQ is through the roof. So he's 49 years old. Now, in the Downs world, you beat the odds. There's a propensity for Down syndrome, people with Down syndrome to have heart defects. So your lifespan could be a lot shorter. Like as an example, he had a hole in his heart when he was 3 years old. So I had to take care of that. He hasn't had too much instances of heart situations, but he did have, had to deal with his aorta a couple of times, heart. And then more recently, he had congestive heart failure. Okay, but he goes down and then he comes right back up. And when he's back up 120% like before. So that's the embodiment of aloha for me. But everybody has their aloha model.
Totally.
That they can live with.
That's beautiful, Brickwood. That's so beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Because I really mean it.
Yeah, I could tell.
I really mean it.
That's why I think that's a great answer.
Thank you.
Totally. Okay. So, you mentioned your son Sean a lot, and that's something that's passionate to you is the disabilities community and trying to be an advocate for them as well. Another thing that you're passionate about is kupuna.
Yeah.
And you have a show called the Kupuna Power. Now that I think about it, that's probably where I saw you first, because I'll be watching TV, like football on Sundays, whatever. And I think either before or after, I remember, Kupuna Power would come up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're very, very grateful that, Kupuna Power has turned into a trusted voice, if you will, with the community. It started specifically, if I can recall, was 2012 or something like that, where, one of my church aunties, like we spoke earlier in the cast about, everybody's your auntie or uncle. And at church, you get your aunties and uncles, and you don't know that they're not your auntie or uncle until you get old enough to realize that, well, that's, and she, this auntie from church was my mother's best friend, and my mother didn't have sisters. So she was sister to my aunt, to my mother, and my mother referred to her as her sister. So to me, she was auntie sister, right? And she referred to my auntie's brother as brother. So he was uncle brother and auntie sister.
That's confusing.
Yeah. So anyway, I was raised, with her. And she was a brilliant woman. She was a teacher at Kamehameha schools.
Mm-hmm.
I was raised, with her around. And so a couple of weeks she didn't show up at church. And, you get, when aunties don't show up at church, my mother told me, go check on her. Well, I went to check on her. Her house was in Kalihi Valley. I found out she was scammed. And her electricity was off. She was living by candlelight. If one of those candles toppled, it would have been over.
Cool.
It was almost like manifest destiny. I get to the place. She's embarrassed, but she's happy that I showed up, right? And a victim of a very predatory, sophisticated environment scams. And I came to learn that, gee whiz, I wanted to learn about this environment.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we extricated her from that situation because it was very, very sophisticated. The scammers actually would accompany her to the bank.
Oh, like this is real life.
This is real life.
I thought this was like people in Africa trying to call you and like telling
that too.
Can you donate, whatever.
That too,
Because my grandma would do that all the time when I was growing up. I remember I was on the phone with some random person trying to give money. I was like, no, stop.
Well, the network is very sophisticated and strong because the scam that she suffered from was from Jamaica.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's a really strong one I learned from in Ethiopia.
Mm-hmm.
And it's worldwide. And then you have Kupuna who trust,
mm-hmm.
And they want to help. So my aunt gave this group all her proprietary information. And so as we were trying to get her out of this stuff, she was very embarrassed. And I want to tell anybody, if you're suffering from this and you hear the sound of my voice, get help. Don't worry about it. It has nothing to do with you being anything less than trusting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I learned all of this in a very short order, right? And I put Auntie out of her house. We sold that house. It was a beautiful 4-bedroom, too big for her. She was only like 5'2", and it was only her. My uncle had passed away, and
wow.
This big, huge home. She had been living in the living room because that's kind of like was her comfort space,
mm-hmm.
and with the candles and stuff. So I took her out, put her in a condominium close to where my mom's condo was, and it was close to the church, so they could walk to the church together. Meanwhile, I went back to my office. I told my staff, let's start something called Kūpuna Power. And it's an initiative to inform our visitors, and it's not exclusive. There's a lot of great people who are doing this type of work. We want to inform our kupuna of all the resources available to them from the feds, from the state, from the counties, from the private sector. And we're going to call this initiative Kupuna Power. We're going to empower kupuna to ensure that the quality of life in their elder years is strong and they can take advantage of everything that's, there. So we started by doing a resource fair at the state capitol once a year. And it was designed to be during what we call the conference time. In the lifespan of a legislative session, there's the start of the session, which is from January to May. Bills are introduced, bills go through committees, the same bunch of bills move to the other house, from the Senate to the House, from the House to the Senate. The process begins again, and then it goes into the third and final process called conference committee. and both houses send representatives to the table, and they hash out the bills, the remaining bills that made it that far. This happens like in April, and then May is when the session ends. So strategically, I wanted Kupuna in the capital in April. We'd have this resource fair, and then we deploy them throughout the capital, go visit offices, take these bills we want to pass, go talk to your representatives, stuff like that. We'd have them in the galleries, you know. And this was like a senior fair with all of the resource materials that they need. They go. Kūpuna Power once a year. Then I took it to Olelo. I said, okay, I feel comfortable in front of a camera. Let's do a half-hour show. And it was the same kind of format, like what we're doing. And then Makena Maduli.
Love her.
Yeah, Makena. She's lovely, beautiful, smart, man. She came back from a gig in California to do news here in Hawaii. But she was on a non-compete clause, right? So she had to stay off the air for a while. And Hawaii News Now decided, go find subject matters. That was her job. Find content. She called me up. She says, Uncle, you want to do Kupuna Power on the air? I said, shoot, let's do it. So I moved us from over to Olelo, over to Hawaii News Now. We did that for about 6 years. And that's when we started partnering up with different entities. And in 2020, Office of Elections called because we're moving the vote to vote by mail, primarily vote by mail. And the vast majority of inquiries about vote by mail was coming from Kupuna. So they called up and they said, let's partner together because, the bigger group is Kupuna. I said, well, stands to, the reason being the Kupuna are used to going into the voting booth, closing the curtain, voting, seeing that ballot go in, watching it, and then getting the little tickets that, I voted. And so it was a matter of confidence. So we created a campaign of confidence. Subsequently, in the 2020 election, we broke all records. That's why I'm a little disappointed this 24 election. You talk about a dismal turnout, man, in votes. But the Kupuna demographic is the most dependable of the vote demographic. And we're proud to say that we were a part of that. It was there before. It was just a matter of telling the Kupuna, listen, it's okay to vote by mail.
You probably don't even know how, yeah.
Yeah, I said, ask your mo'opuna, right? Everybody get on the table, talk story about who and what and how, and it might be a Thanksgiving Day beef, but at least you're civically engaged, and then get your mo'opuna to engage. So that's our contribution, Kupuna Power's contribution, and to this day we're a trusted voice. And so I took Kupuna Power off the air when I started OHA, because I wanted to be clear on my time assignment required there. And after a year, it was clear that I could do both and still then do some of my other special projects too. So we just started again. KITV wanted us, and Davey D and Lena, and so we do this little segment during their Island Life Live show, and then we rerun some of the other segments too. And those are 30-minute segments. But the next theme that we're going to take on is digital literacy for Kupuna.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah. But what we've done is we are partnering with this group called Tech Savvy Teens.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so we're doing like tech expos down at the different malls.
I see the people, they do the Genius Bar stuff at the Apple Store where they teach people how to do so similar to that.
Similar to that.
Yeah.
And the kids, they're teenagers. And so, they get a little bit of a, they get a little, maybe $50 for helping. So
That's awesome, right? And they get to do something good and help the kupuna.
So we're happy. We're happy about where we are. We're happy about that we're able to get the brand back up. And we're constantly looking for partners who want to join with us to advance the Kupuna Power.
Nice. How can people help? Like if they want to be a partner, if they want to support, how can they do that?
We have a website called wearekupuna.com. Yeah, we are one word. Wearekupuna.com, and they can go to that website, and they can see the type of programming that we're doing, or they can see the partnerships that we have. And then there's a way to contact me, or you can contact me at the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, and then we can find a way by which to work together.
Okay.
There's many, many different ways by which we can work together. We got the teens now, we got, there's a group called the Caregiver Foundation, in case people need help putting their caregiving programs together. There's a group called Give Me a Break that we work with. And, Give Me a Break are caregivers. Because a caregiver sometimes needs a break. So it provides a caregiver with even if it's 1 hour respite, a massage or something like that.
Yeah. That's amazing. It's so cool, all the things that you're involved with.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. And, we just continue to continue. That's pretty much our theme.
Keeping on. Keep on keeping it aloha.
Keep on keeping it aloha. So, we're hopefully keeping it aloha.
Totally. I believe you are. Yeah. Well, it's coming towards the end because I know you have to get out. So I'm going to start to wrap it up.
Sure.
Before I ask you the life hack, I don't know if you were able to think of a life hack.
Life hack.
Life hack.
Life hack.
Yeah.
You got to.
Okay, I can help you. Well, before that, I want to know, what is something you wish people knew about you that they don't?
Whiz.
Or something you think they misunderstand about you, maybe a misconception.
Well, pretty much what they see is what they get. I'll do my best to call a spade in a nice way. If you don't get it the first time, I'll find a way to get it over to you. But I think that I've done my best to be a good guy. We all got our faults and failures, and hopefully I've learned from mine, and I can pass it on so that my failure can help somebody with avoid theirs, if at all. But sometimes failing is the biggest lesson you can
I agree,
learn.
yeah.
And you can you learn from it. I mean, that's God telling you something. So
sometimes it's necessary.
Sometimes it's necessary, and it hurts. But things will get better.
Totally. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. Well, so what is your life hack? And I'll guide you through this. It's like, something that you can share with people that makes their life easier, more efficient, something that works in your life. Like, some people, they say when you go to the hotel, you put the hanger from the closet onto the blind so that you can close that gap where the sun hits. So it's like completely black and you can sleep better. That's like a physical life hack. Some people just share some words of advice. So if you have some words of advice that you live by, that's also a life hack.
It's going to seem redundant, but if I could get back to Sean one more time.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Be like Sean. That's a life hack.
Yeah. So Sean's life hack, if he does one, I mean, his whole life is a life hack. But I give you an idea of what might be a possibility. Whenever Sean looks up in the sky and he sees a full moon, or he sees a moon, or he sees a rainbow, or the sun is going to set, he said, Dad, that's my friend, the moon. I said, really? He said, yeah. He saw a rainbow this morning. Dad, it's my friend, the rainbow. And, he talks his own language. I mean, sometimes you cannot understand him. I said, he talks Shawneese.
Shawneese.
Shawneese. He knows his own language. But we know that his friends are everything. It's his friends. So maybe that could be a life hack. Look for the good in everything. Look up at the moon. Look at the sun. Look at the rainbow. Say, that's my friend.
Look at others.
Look at others. That's my friend.
Yeah.
You
might look different. You might sound different. You might smell different. But they're all friends.
It was raining yesterday. Sean says, heaven. Heaven.
That's awesome.
Anyway,
that's a good
I'm
one.
hoping that even came close to
No,
it.
that was good. I think that was a very creative one. So shout out to Sean. Be like Sean. That's a life hack. Okay, so I have my last fast 5 questions. These are rapid fire answers, okay?
Yeah.
So first thing that comes to mind. Favorite guilty pleasure?
Ice cream sandwich.
Oof, nice. You ever had the uncle's one? The ice cream sandwich? They sell it at Whole Foods and it's the best ever. Just
really?
Try it.
Okay, I'll go.
Yeah. If you don't try it the next time I see you, I'm going to go grab you one.
Okay, shoot.
Okay. Favorite thing about being a kupuna?
Mo'opuna.
Oh, that's sweet. Favorite vacation destination?
Let me see. Favorite vacation destination? Volcano.
Like Volcano National Park in Big Island? Oh, awesome. Okay, favorite way to recharge?
Sleep.
Nice. Favorite song to sing?
Favorite song to sing? The Doxology.
The Doxology. Oh, like Ho'onani? Oh, nice. That's a good one. Okay, well, that's all we have for you today. I just want to say mahalo for coming in and sharing your awesome life story. I feel like I could talk to you for another 2 hours, but I know you got to get going. But we'll see you around,
Yeah, I appreciate this. Yeah. And keep it aloha.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so where can we find you?
Well, you can find me at the Office of Foreign Affairs. I'm there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays in the morning time.
Okay.
You can find me at wearekupuna.com. And if you really want to find me, come to Koihao on Sunday from 9:30 to 10:30.
Look for the guy checking his phone or watching football on his phone. That's Brickwood.
Yeah. Every now and then I pick up the guitar.
Yeah.
And so, it could be, we toss the stuff on Facebook if we go to like this Any Place Lounge. And I put together bands, right? It's kind of like so random. It's like whoever shows up band. But the music is really good stuff.
Awesome.
So hopefully I can find somebody when we're playing music.
Okay, sounds good. Well, mahalo Brickwood for joining us on the Keep It Aloha podcast. Spread love, be kind to one another, and mahalo for listening to us today. We have new episodes every Thursday, so make sure you follow us and leave a review. I'm your host, Kamaka, and remember to always keep it aloha. And check out Hawaii Recalls with Kimo Kawano and Brickwood Galuteria.
Right.